It's a quiet evening in 2012. Somewhere in East London, in a modest bedroom in Barking, a 17-year-old is hunched over his MacBook Pro. His name is Zane Kaiser. He's supposed to be studying computer science at City University. Instead, he's building something else, something darker. On his screen, chat forums, underground marketplaces, Russian cybercriminals discussing the Angler exploit kit, one of the most sophisticated pieces of malware ever created. The kind of weapon that could infect a computer in seconds, exploit every vulnerability, and leave the victim completely helpless. Zane isn't just watching, he's negotiating. He's making a deal with the Russians. He'll deploy their malware, they'll split the profits. All he needs is the perfect delivery system, a way to reach millions of unsuspecting targets, people who would never report what happened to them, people who would pay anything to make their problem disappear. He's found it. The world's most visited websites. Sites with hundreds of millions of monthly visitors, sites people would never admit to visiting. Adult websites. This is the story of how a teenager from East London hijacked the internet's advertising infrastructure, turned it into a global extortion machine, and made millions by terrifying people with fake law enforcement warnings on their computer screens. A story of greed, arrogance, and how one hacker weaponized shame to build a criminal empire from his childhood bedroom. This story is based on documented court records, official statements from the National Crime Agency, and information released by investigators and law enforcement agencies in the UK, US, Canada, and Europe. If you're enjoying this, consider subscribing for more hacker stories. Let us know in the comments where you're watching from. Full list of sources is available in the video description.
Zane Kaiser is 17 years old, living at home with his parents in a small terraced house, registered unemployed, enrolled at City University to study computer science, one of the first universities in the UK to offer degree courses in computing, boasting one of the highest rates of graduate employment. Students who complete their courses go on to careers in cybersecurity, tech companies, prestigious roles. But Zane rarely attends. He's a ghost student. His parents think he's going to lectures, studying hard, building a future. He's building something, just not the future they imagine. There's a whole economy that exists in the dark corners of the internet, underground forums where you can buy malware, rent botnets, purchase stolen data, hire hackers, where 17-year-olds with programming skills can connect with the Russian cybercriminals who've built weapons of digital destruction. Zane is fascinated by one particular weapon, the Angler exploit kit. Think of an exploit kit as a Swiss Army knife for hacking. It's a pre-packaged collection of software exploits designed to probe a computer for vulnerabilities, outdated Flash, unpatched browsers, old Java versions, and then instantly deliver malware through whichever crack it finds. All automated, all silent, all in seconds. But Angler isn't just any exploit kit. It's the best. At its peak, Angler accounts for 40% of all exploit kit infections worldwide, nearly 100,000 compromised websites, tens of millions of infected users, an estimated $34 million in annual revenue. Security researchers consider it one of the most dangerous tools in cybercrime, and it's hard to get. Controlled by a small group of elite Russian-speaking cybercriminals who guard it carefully, Zane wants in. Early 2012, Zane is active in chat rooms and forums using his online handle, King, with an exclamation point instead of the I. King has an idea, a pitch for the Russians. He reaches out, makes contact with the creators of Angler. He tells them, you provide the malware, I'll get it infected on millions of computers. The Russians are interested but skeptical. What makes this British teenager think he can deliver? Zane tells them he's got something they need: fluent English, knowledge of the online advertising industry, and experience in social engineering. He's good at manipulating people to get what he wants, and he's got no problem doing it. He's got a plan. Not to hack individual computers, that's too slow, too limited. He's going to hack the advertising networks itself, hijack the infrastructure of the internet, use legitimate websites with massive traffic to deliver their malware to millions. The Russians are intrigued. They make a deal. Zain gets access to Angler. They split the profits. The Russians even provide something extra: fake identity documents, passports, business registration papers, everything he needs to appear legitimate. September 2012, the operation begins. Zain Kaiser is 18 years old, and he's about to turn the internet's advertising system into a weapon.
The plan is elegant in its simplicity. Every major website runs advertisements. Those ads come from advertising networks, middlemen who connect advertisers with publishers. The networks are supposed to vet the ads, make sure they're legitimate. But the system is complex. Thousands of ads, millions of impressions, automated processes, room for error, room for exploitation. Zain's strategy? Create fake identities. Register bogus companies with names that sound legitimate, pose as legitimate online advertising agencies, then buy massive amounts of advertising space on some of the world's most popular websites. Not just any websites, adult websites. Why? 3 reasons. 1. Traffic. Massive, constant, global traffic. Sites like Pornhub, YouPorn, Xhamster, and others receive hundreds of millions of visits every month. One malicious ad on these platforms could reach millions of people in hours. 2. Vulnerability. People visiting these sites are often using personal computers, browsing from home, late at night, less likely to have corporate security, more likely to be running outdated software. Perfect targets for exploit kits. 3. Shame. This is the psychological leverage that makes the entire operation work. People who get infected while visiting adult sites will never report it, never tell their friends, their family, their IT department, the police. They'll do anything, pay anything, to make the problem go away quietly. Zain understands this perfectly. He's weaponizing embarrassment. Over the next months, Zain creates his web of fraudulent identities. He approaches advertising networks, the companies that broker ad space between advertisers and websites, using the fake passports his Russian partners provided. Speaking perfect English, presenting professional documentation, he convinces them he's a legitimate customer, and they believe him. The ad networks sell him space. Massive amounts of advertising traffic on major adult websites through platforms like ExoClick and Traffic House. But these aren't normal advertisements. They're poisoned. Here's how it works. Someone visits a legitimate adult website. Everything looks normal. The site is real. The ads look real. They see a banner ad, maybe for a dating app, maybe for a webcam service, something that fits the context, nothing suspicious. They don't even need to click. Just loading the page triggers the exploit. The ad contains malicious JavaScript that immediately redirects the user through a series of servers. First redirect, a check to see if security software is running. Second redirect, delivery of the Angler exploit kit. In seconds, Angler scans the computer for vulnerabilities. Outdated flash? Exploited. Unpatched browser? Exploited. Old Java? Exploited. Once it finds a vulnerability, it delivers the payload, Reviton ransomware. The screen freezes. Everything stops. And then the message appears.
Imagine this. You're browsing the internet. Maybe you're on a news site. Maybe you're on an adult website. But that's not something you'd ever admit. Suddenly, your screen locks. You can't click anything. You can't close the browser. You can't access your files. A full-screen message appears. At the top, the logo of the FBI, or the Metropolitan Police, or whatever law enforcement agency matches your country. Official looking. Government formatting. Seals and badges. The message reads, "Warning, your computer has been locked. Your IP address has been flagged for illegal activity. Our systems have detected that you've been accessing illegal content. This is a federal offense punishable by up to 3 years in prison. To avoid criminal prosecution and unlock your device, you must pay a fine of $300 to $1,000 immediately. Payment must be made within 48 hours via Bitcoin or prepaid debit card. If payment is not received, local law enforcement will be notified and criminal proceedings will begin. This notice is non-negotiable. Pay now to restore access to your device. Your heart is racing. Your mind is spinning. You weren't looking at anything illegal, but who's going to believe you? Your family will see this. Your employer might find out. The police might actually show up. And that number, $300, $500, $1,000, a lot of money, but compared to 3 years in prison, compared to your life being destroyed, you pay. Thousands of people paid. Tens of thousands, all over the world. US, UK, Canada, Europe, more than 20 countries. Because Zane had done something brilliant and cruel. He localized the scam. The ransomware detected your location and displayed the appropriate law enforcement agency for your country. FBI for Americans, Metropolitan Police for British users, local agencies for other regions. The messages were tailored. The threats felt real. And people believed it. The National Crime Agency would later calculate that just one of Zane's poisoned ads appeared on 21 million web browsers every month, including 870,000 appearances on adult sites accessed in the UK alone. The Angler exploit kit was successfully downloaded on approximately 165,000 computers. About 5% of those victims, roughly 8,000 people, paid the ransom. Every month, month after month. Do the math. If 8,000 people per month pay an average of $500, that's $4 million in monthly revenue for a single ad campaign. And Zane is running multiple campaigns for years. The money flows in. Bitcoin, prepaid debit cards, green dot cards, all untraceable payment methods that victims are instructed to use. The money is collected by accomplices around the world, including a man in Florida named Raymond Odiong Uadiel, who goes by the online name Michael Rowland. Raymond's job is money laundering. Convert the prepaid card funds into cash, then into cryptocurrency, then transfer it to Zane. He keeps 30% for himself, sends 70% to King. Once Zane messages him, the main locker guy infected 100K plus USA PCs. Raymond responds, "Me too, I need money so I can get wasted on my birthday." The system works perfectly. Automated, scalable, global. Zane Kweisser, now 19 years old, living in his parents' house in Barking, unemployed with no declared income, is making hundreds of thousands of pounds. And he can't help but spend it.
The packages arrive at his parents' house. Designer items, electronics, a 5,000-pound Rolex watch. His parents notice. Of course they notice. But Zane has an explanation ready. "I'm doing freelance computer work, tech consulting. It pays well." They believe him. Or maybe they want to believe him. Their son, the computer science student, making money from his skills. It makes sense, doesn't it? They don't ask why their unemployed son is staying at a 2,000-pound per night luxury hotel in Chelsea. They don't know about the women, the drugs, the gambling. In just one 10-month period, Zane spends £68,000 at a single London casino, almost $90,000, dropping tens of thousands per visit, walking in with cash, playing high-stakes tables, living like a king. All while officially unemployed, all while his parents think he's just good with computers. The National Crime Agency would eventually trace over £700,000 through his financial accounts, roughly $900,000. But investigators believe the real total is much higher, possibly over £4 million moved through his network of cryptocurrency platforms and online accounts. Much of it is plowed back into the operation, buying more advertising space, expanding the campaigns, infecting more computers. But Zane keeps enough for himself. Enough to fund a lifestyle of luxury, excess, and recklessness. He feels untouchable, anonymous, protected by layers of fake identities, cryptocurrency, offshore accounts. He is K, literally, the king of his digital empire. And then the advertising networks start noticing.
Not every advertising network is blind to what Zane is doing. Some notice patterns. Complaints from website visitors about malware, security researchers flagging suspicious redirects, malicious JavaScript code detected in ads sold by certain agencies. They start investigating. tracking the fake companies back to Zane's accounts, blocking him, shutting him down. One Canadian ad network confronts him, tells him to stop, threatens to ban him permanently and report him to authorities. Zane's response? Really, it's just better if we work together. We can make some serious money together. It's my way or no way. The king is back. Partnership offer. Take a cut of the profits and look the other way. The network refuses. So, Zane retaliates. He launches DDoS attacks, distributed denial of service attacks, flooding their servers with traffic, overwhelming their systems, knocking them offline, costing them hundreds of thousands of pounds in lost revenue and mitigation costs. He sends threatening messages to company directors. I'll first kill your server, then send illegal spam abuses. He isn't just running a scam anymore. He's blackmailing the advertising networks themselves, threatening to destroy their reputations, flood their platforms with illegal content, ruin them financially. At least 2 advertising agencies are hit with DDoS attacks. The companies lose at least £500,000, over $600,000 in combined damages. But Zane doesn't care. In his mind, they're obstacles, threats to his empire, and King doesn't tolerate threats. He keeps operating, keeps expanding, keeps infecting computers, until July 2014.
July 2014. Police raid Zane's family home in Barking. His parents are shocked, confused. Their son? A criminal? Impossible. He's a computer science student. He does freelance work. He's just good with technology. The National Crime Agency has been investigating, working with partners in the US, Canada, and Europe, following the money, tracking the malware, connecting the dots. They arrest Zane Kaiser, seize his computers, his MacBook Pro, his files, his cryptocurrency accounts. Zane is 19 years old, facing charges of blackmail, fraud, computer misuse, money laundering. But he doesn't confess. He claims he's been hacked himself, that someone else must have used his accounts, his computers, his identities. He's a victim, not a perpetrator. The investigation continues. Forensic analysis of his devices, international cooperation between law enforcement agencies. The FBI and U.S. Secret Service arrest accomplices, including Raymond Uadalye in Florida, who would later be sentenced for laundering $93,640 in ransomware proceeds. Digital forensics experts find chat logs on Zane's laptop, conversations between King and Mike Rowland, detailed discussions about infected computers, ransom payments, money transfers, Zane's careful records of everything. February 2017, 3 years after his arrest, Zane is finally charged. Trial is set for February 2018, and then something extraordinary happens. Zane is sectioned under the UK's Mental Health Act, detained at Goodmayes Hospital in North London for psychiatric treatment. The trial is abandoned. He's in a hospital, under supervision, supposedly getting treatment, but investigators notice something strange. Financial accounts linked to Zane show activity, cryptocurrency transfers, over £100,000 moving through accounts despite him having no job and declaring no earnings. Digital forensics experts find chat logs on Zane's laptop, conversations between King and Mike Rowland, detailed discussions about infected computers, ransom payments, money transfers, Zane's careful records of everything. December 2018, Zane is arrested again, this time for laundering approximately £120,000 while on bail from the original charges. He's remanded in custody. No more bail, no more hospital Wi-Fi, no more chances. Facing the overwhelming evidence, years of investigation, international cooperation, forensic analysis, accomplice testimony, and now proof he continued operating even from a mental health facility, Zane finally changes his plea. Guilty. He pleads guilty to 11 charges, 3 counts of blackmail, 3 counts of fraud by false representation, 4 counts of unauthorized computer access with intent to impair operations, 1 count of possessing criminal property. The ransomware offenses, committed between September 2012 and July 2014. The money laundering offense,
committed between 2015 and 2018, including while in the hospital. Even after his first arrest, he'd kept going, kept laundering, kept operating, because he thought he was untouchable. April 9, 2019, Kingston Crown Court. Sentencing day.
Judge Timothy Lamb QC looks at the young man before him, 24 years old. Most of his crimes committed between ages 17 and 19. A computer science student who threw away his future for money, luxury, and ego. The judge speaks. The harm caused by your offending was extensive, so extensive that there does not appear to be a reported case involving anything comparable. He reads from the evidence, the scale of the operation, the millions of infected computers, the thousands of victims across more than 20 countries, the psychological trauma inflicted on people who thought they were being investigated by law enforcement. Whatever your motivation for mounting these attacks on the internet, you took the opportunity to spend large sums of ill-gotten money in casinos, on an expensive watch, and luxury hotel services. The judge notes Zane's role wasn't just as a lone hacker. He was part of a sophisticated international crime group, working with Russian cybercriminals who created the Angler exploit kit, with the National Crime Agency described as one of the most successful and closely guarded pieces of malicious software ever developed by the cybercrime community. Nigel Leary, the NCA senior investigating officer, had called it one of the most sophisticated, serious, and organized cybercrime groups the National Crime Agency has ever investigated. Zane Quasser was the English-speaking bridge, the social engineer, the one who could navigate Western advertising networks, create convincing fake companies, deploy the malware at massive scale. Mike Hullett, head of operations at the NCA's National Cybercrime Unit, put it simply. Zane Quasser was an integral part of a highly sophisticated cybercrime group. He assisted the group in generating millions of pounds in ransom payments by blackmailing countless victims, from which he himself profited hugely. And most damning, even after arrest he continued, even from a mental health facility, even knowing he was under investigation. The sentence? 6 years and 5 months in federal prison. In addition, Zane is ordered to forfeit £270,864 and 47 pence in assets, including the £5,000 Rolex watch currently held by the NCA. If he doesn't pay within 3 months, an additional 2 years will be added to his sentence, and he'll still owe the money. Investigators suspect he has more money hidden in offshore cryptocurrency accounts, but they haven't been able to trace them directly. Zane Quasser remains expressionless as the sentence is read. 6 years. In a British prison. No internet access, no computers, no MacBook Pro. No kingdom.
The investigation doesn't end with Zane's conviction. Raymond Odiong Wadiale, the Florida-based money launderer who went by Mike Rowland, is indicted in Miami in March 2018. Charged with conspiracy to commit money laundering for his role in converting ransom payments to cryptocurrency. Between October 2012 and March 2013, he laundered approximately $93,000 of ransomware proceeds. He pleads guilty and faces prison time. His attorney describes him as a man living the American dream whose past conduct came to bite him in the rear end. But the real mastermind behind Angler, the Russian cybercriminals who created it, remain in the shadows. For years, they operate under various online monikers, including JP Morgan. The NCA begins investigating JP Morgan in 2015, running parallel investigations with the U.S. Secret Service and FBI. The group operates from physical offices in Kiev, Ukraine, under various names including Media Lab. Their malvertising campaigns impact over 500 million victims worldwide. In August 2024, years after Zane's conviction, a major breakthrough. Maxim Silnikow, a 38-year-old Belarusian Ukrainian believed to be the founder of Reviton ransomware and a key figure behind the Angler exploit kit, is arrested in Spain and extradited to the United States. He faces over 50 years in prison if convicted on all counts. The network is finally crumbling, but the damage is done. Millions of infected computers,
thousands of victims who paid ransoms, hundreds of thousands in damages to advertising networks, countless people traumatized by thinking they were under investigation for offenses they didn't commit. And here's the tragic reality. Most victims never reported it. NCA's Mike Hewlett admitted, "I don't think we will ever know the true number of people who paid up." The shame factor that made Zane's scam so effective also meant the true scale will never be known. But the case changed things. It forced the advertising industry to confront its vulnerabilities. Ad networks implemented stricter verification processes. Publishers demanded better security. Users started adopting ad blockers in massive numbers, partly because of campaigns like Zane's. Security researchers noted the bitter irony. An ad blocker would have prevented the entire attack. Users who blocked ads on adult websites would never have been infected. The very technology that the advertising industry fought against could have saved millions from ransomware. The Angler exploit kit itself fell out of favor with cybercriminals in 2016 after its operators came under increasing law enforcement pressure. But the template remained, the tactics remained, and new exploit kits emerged to take its place. With good behavior, Zane would have been released around 2021 or 2022. He'd be in his late 20s now, back out in the world, with internet access again. The National Crime Agency knows this, the advertising networks know this, security researchers know this. Because here's the reality. Nothing has fundamentally changed. Adult websites still run advertisements, advertising networks still use automated systems, exploit kits still exist, newer, more sophisticated versions. Ransomware is more prevalent than ever. Zane started when he was 17, a teenager with programming skills, access to underground forums, and zero moral compass. He had talent, real technical ability. He was enrolled at a prestigious university. He could have gone into cybersecurity, worked for a tech company, built a legitimate career. Instead, he weaponized the internet's advertising infrastructure, exploited millions of people's vulnerabilities in shame, for money, for luxury, for the feeling of being king. He made over £700,000, probably much more, spent it on watches, hotels, gambling, lived like a millionaire while officially unemployed, living in his parents' house. And when advertising networks tried to stop him, he attacked them. DDoS attacks, blackmail threats. Even after his first arrest, he kept going. Even from a psychiatric hospital, he continued scamming. Because he thought he was untouchable, anonymous, smarter than everyone else. He wasn't. The investigation took 5 years. International cooperation between the NCA, FBI, US Secret Service, Canadian law enforcement, European agencies, forensic analysis, financial tracking, witness cooperation from his accomplices. They built an overwhelming case, so overwhelming that Zane finally had to plead guilty. 6 years and 5 months. Judge Timothy Lamb QC said it was the most extensive cybercrime case he'd ever seen. The NCA called Zane their most significant cybercrime offender. Not because he was the most technically sophisticated. He wasn't. He didn't create Angler. He didn't develop Reviton. He understood something the Russian hackers didn't. Social engineering, psychology, how to manipulate legitimate businesses, how to exploit human nature. He understood that people would pay anything to avoid embarrassment. And he was right, until he wasn't. Zane's empire fell. The Russians behind Angler are being hunted. The network is crumbling. But somewhere tonight, someone is visiting a website, an ad loads on their screen, and they have no idea what's about to happen. The Zane Quaiser story is over. But the threat he represented? That's never going away.